as you say, there's big things happening in the world, and the Iran war and its economic impacts are obviously of crucial importance. So I'm going to ask Liam Byrne MP to kick off.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for that statement, Prime Minister. I know you're chairing COBRA on the war in Iran later this afternoon. Things are moving very quickly and the fog of war remains thick. But what is your central planning scenario for how this conflict ends? And what's your view about the timeframes?
Well, my very strong view is we need to de-escalate and bring an end to this conflict as swiftly as possible. And we've been working with a number of countries in that regard. And to that end, I welcome the talks reported between the US and Iran. And to be clear with the committee, we, the UK, were aware that was happening. And the immediate priority has to be a swift resolution of the conflict and delivering a negotiated agreement which puts tough conditions on Iran, particularly in relation to nuclear weapons. So that's the sort of number one priority. Obviously, there's no certainty in this, and that's why, in addition to the usual issues at COBRA meetings, which are often military, diplomatic, consular, we're holding a COBRA this afternoon on the economic impact, because my strong sense is that most people are very anxious and concerned at what they see on their television screens in terms of the conflict and the fear of escalation. But they're also very concerned about the impact it might have on them and their families, and that's what we will be absolutely focusing on this afternoon.
I mean, President Trump is obviously talking about days and weeks for this conflict to end. The markets are obviously pricing now for a disruption that lasts for some months. I know you've got to be very careful about not triggering panic buying of anything, but I mean, do you think that households and businesses in our country should be planning for a disruption that actually lasts for months, or do you think that actually this can be concluded in days and weeks, as President Trump seems to suggest?
Hard to answer that question, if I'm honest about it. I think all of our focus and energy has to be in the swift de-escalation, but we've got to plan on the basis that it could go on for some time. And that's the way in which we'll plan this afternoon. And since the conflict started, I've been really clear with the team that we mustn't fall in to the sort of false comfort of thinking that there will necessarily be a quick and early end to this. We have to plan on the basis there may not be. In terms of energy has been where a huge amount of focus has been. On energy supplies, I can reassure the committee that we haven't any meaningful concerns about energy supplies. Obviously, the price fluctuates daily. For household energy bills, it is important for me to reiterate that they will be cut because of the measures we took in the budget last year and then held until the end of June. And I know that for many members of the public, the question they've been asking is, does that still hold even if the conflict goes on? And the answer to that question is yes. So there's comfort there for households. Obviously, fuel duty is held until September. We've been working intensively in the last week or two with fuel suppliers, particularly petrol retailers, to make sure that nobody is profiteering from this, and that's why we've said to the CMA they've got to be all over any price gouging, any attempts to make money. And we've taken measures in relation to households that use oil for their heating, which is predominantly rural communities and quite extensively in places like Northern Ireland, where 68% heat their households by oil. They're the immediate measures. This afternoon we will be looking at a wider set of measures for the economy and specific sectors within the economy. And the Chancellor will then make a statement to the House tomorrow. So we'll have COBRA later on, which I will chair, and then the Chancellor will come to Parliament tomorrow to announce the outcome of the COBRA meeting so that there can then be questions in Parliament in relation to that.
Thank you. Bill Esserton MP.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for that explanation, Prime Minister. LNG production in the region has been severely damaged already. Reports are that it will take 5 years to restore that level of production. This is going to have a profound effect on supply and on prices beyond the end of June, unfortunately. How are you factoring in those calculations to what support will be needed both by consumers and by industry?
Well, we're looking at what support couldn't be put in. Obviously, that's subject to further discussion, not least at the Cobra this afternoon. It's a little bit early to be too concrete, if I'm honest, because we don't know yet how much longer this is going to go on. We know with households what's been held. We know that with energy-intensive businesses, there's already some support in, but I think a lot of businesses would be saying, well, even if we don't fall within the energy-intensive bracket, is there anything that can be done for us? I haven't got a concrete answer that I can put before you today, but I can assure you that we're looking across the board at what can be done, whether it's cost of living or the support we need to put in. I want to make sure we've examined all the appropriate levers that we can pull.